Our role model of today is Rob LoCascio. Rob, you lead with serious tech insights, vision, innovation, and how to use AI for good, which we love. You're the founder and ex-CEO of LivePerson, where you pioneered web chat and scaled the company to over $550 million in annual revenue. You walked away after 28 years to set up Kidco.AI, the world's first AI device focused solely on healthy childhood creativity and well-being. You are also the founder of Uare.AI, where you develop and protect people's individual AI. Your story of inventing foundational AI, leading in tech for decades, and now choosing to invest your time and resources to address the crisis in technology is deeply inspiring to us. Rob, so welcome to WeCan, and thank you for leading by example.
Thanks for having me, Stephanie.
It's lovely to have you. Talk to us about the pivotal points that you feel led you to where you are today.
Yeah, I was running this company, LivePerson, which I founded for 28 years, and we were the leading provider of conversational AI systems for the enterprise. So if you ever chatted or messaged for a big telco or bank, or that was the company I invented, the company I created. So I had this company was public, 3,000 people, all this. And I think there was a series of things that kind of made me think about change. And after running something for 28 years, it sort of becomes an appendage on your body. So change is not easy. But I think post-COVID and then with AI becoming a central force of, I would say it's a revolution versus an evolutionary technology.
Yeah.
My mission always was at LivePerson, the number one core value was create meaningful connections. And I've always felt that LivePerson, its name in itself, and the idea that human beings were powering interactions on a website, the simple concept was like you could chat on a website. And when I invented that technology, it didn't exist. But the idea of bringing humans forward has always been somehow my mission around what I do in life. And as I went through COVID, managed through that, came out the other side, and then sort of looked at the future where it was all going to go. And a lot of the talk track around AI was all about existential threat. And then these large technology companies continuing their power forward. You need billions of dollars in infrastructure. You need large language models. You need nuclear power now. We need to go to Mars. I mean, it's all this thing. And although I'm living in Silicon Valley now, I was always kind of an outsider living in New York, looking in. Now I'm here because I moved here to start these companies. But I really feel that the power of every technology is that humanity is first. And I felt like I should take my knowledge and my resources and my focus and put it towards building companies that could create a different narrative, a different path for all of us to be on, which is AI is helping us. AI makes us better creators. AI will help us be our best individual selves. But it's not that AI is taking our jobs and going to control us and it's smarter than us. And there's a few companies that are going to be very powerful and the rest of us are going to be wherever in the fiefdom of all that. I just felt like that's just such a BS, narrative. And there just needs to be alternative companies. And I felt like I was in a position to go after that.
Rob, which is great, which is why you're here and we're so excited. Talk to us more about Kidco.AI and then also Uare.AI. What are you doing with Kidco?
Yeah, so if I take what I just said to the strategic and then bring it down to the tactics of building a companies, my sense was the way to create an alternative path was by creating small models, like instead of large language models, let's have small models that could be controlled by humans and be used by humans.
Yeah.
And the second part was let's get those models onto small devices and AI native devices. So it gives us a lot more control over the technology. So I created these two companies, one called Kidco, which is it's a device for children and families to bring AI safely into the home. And the second company is called Uare.AI, where we can replicate you, and your AI is you. Your AI is a reflection of you. Your AI has your knowledge and your voice, and that, but it's there to serve you. It's way in which we have doctors and lawyers and writers on our platform, and they're using it to allow leverage on their time, so people can interact with them like it's them, but
Mm.
they don't have to be there. And so there's a power to that technology, sharing it and monetizing it, but it's yours. And like I've always said, like your AI will never take your job. Like that's the idea. It's like it's not going to take your job. It's your AI. You control it. So this is really what I went after and created these two companies about a little over a year ago. And then now we launched Kid during the holidays, and we're launching the Uare.AI product, the platform in March. Although it was already March, it was already launched as a company called Eternos a year ago, where we started really replicating people for their legacy. And that's where I got all my learnings about, AIs reflecting humanity and people's stories and their voice and their like emotions, and how we can bring that through an AI experience.
Rob, which I love because it's giving people back the control, which is, I think, what we largely feel as humans right now is that we've lost this control, right? There is this revolution happening, and none of us have control, which is not true. Each one of us has control. And so, talk to us a little bit about your main learnings, Rob. You've been in this business since the 90s. You're now in a position where you can really bring about change. What are your main insights that you could share?
Yeah, I mean the big things that I see right now is I mean, let's start with kid and parents. Like there's a continuation, and now there's the legislation going through, around children engaging with chatbots
Mm.
and AI during the holidays. Like a lot of Chinese companies like dumped a bunch of toys in the market with like a wrapper on ChatGPT, or actually they put wrappers on Chinese models, and these models they can be harmful. They're adult models. They're not for kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I'm seeing is just it's just a lot of junk. I guess it's the best way to put it,
Yeah.
being thrown at our families and our children. And what's happening is there's a reaction by parents like, I don't want anything in my home again. I've already been bombarded with YouTube and YouTube Kids and Roblox and all the stuff that's harming my children and creating them to be addicted to technology in a bad way. Now we got AI. So it's like what I'm seeing is, and then I'll flip over to the other company in a second, is there's an assault on people and
Yeah.
their children and and I'll say their individuality and their values. I think this all comes down to values. Like a family has values, and on the other
Mm.
side, there's a bunch of companies trying to intrude on those values and reshape those values with our children. I have three children below the age of 10. I started the company because I saw that they were changing it. They're being influenced
Yeah.
by strangers who were there to make them addicts to scrolling,
Mm.
and they're cursing and they're hitting each other. And I'm not blaming everything on there, but their pattern, they see a pattern that's funny. They see that comedy and like violence and abusiveness it's funny. You see it. If you're really a parent and you dig in, you see they like, whether it's a cartoon or people are hitting each other, and it's like, and they laugh and they say the F word and they laugh. There's a lot of laughter around stuff that's not funny if you're an adult, looking at your kids. So I'm trying to say it's like an assault. And then let's go to the other side. When we look at, we've been doing a lot of work in Hollywood with like writers now, like famous
Mm.
writers
Mm.
who want to, who are now being threatened.
Yeah.
Basically, AI is a threat
Yeah.
because the courts ruled that I can create a work, and the models can assume that work, that those writings, that book, and they don't pay me for it. And
Mm.
then they can use that to like go build a business.
Yeah.
And this is a very creative group of people who want to be in the game, but they see it the same thing. It's all threats everywhere.
Yeah.
And so we're like, look, come onto our platform. You own the data. You own your stories. Let's create a unique AI IP,
Yeah.
based on your creativity. And more importantly, is you got to establish yourself somewhere where you own your identity, because they've
Mm.
taken your identity.
Mm.
and they're taking it through your works and your creativity. So I just see it as like there's this little bit of an assault. So for me, it's all about let's put the power back into the people. Like
Yeah.
you control it, you control the tech, you control more or less the data set is really what you need to control in AI to be in total control. So my learnings here was a little of my history is that there tends to be this like a lot of noise, and then eventually the consumer will make a choice to what serves them the best. And what my hope is by giving them choice, that they're gonna choose a path that's not the path we're on, which is assaulting them every day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You're giving people back safety essentially because that is under threat. I'm wondering what would be your best parenting advice? You're a tech leader, you're a dad. What would you tell parents? How should we, I have grown-up kids, but I mean it's the same thing.
yeah,
They're
yeah, go ahead.
all of my values are under threat, which is what you mentioned earlier.
Look, I'm given this advice before. Think of tech like homework that you do with your children. And unfortunately, we got into a pattern. It's all patterns and behaviors. Like I've got my phone and I'm handing it to my kid and
Mm,
they go away. It's all about they go away and they're
mm,
giving me some time back. This is not the place to do that. You have to think of it like I got to sit down and I'm doing homework with my kids and I'm going to invest in that time. And what I see, even when we've launched Kid, is some parents take Kid and they treat it like, let me hand it to my children, and they're going to get it. It'll be addicted good. That's what they're thinking. Like, we didn't create addicted good on our platform. There's no scrolling. You're interacting with characters. You're making movies. You're making images. You're making music. And the children can make stories with the parents, and it's a wonderful thing. But you got to be engaged with it. So my advice is that if you're not engaged with it with them and you're not creating a moment of connection with your children through technology, then we end up in these places that are really bad.
yeah.
And so there is no harmless addictive technology. If you want to just give your kids a way to get candy through the tech, so they'll like won't bother you. And I know I have a 10-year-old, a 7, and a 5-year old. I'm not, I got the same issues. They're just sometimes I want my own time.
Yeah.
They take a lot of my time, the kids. I've got a lot on my mind. My wife has a lot on her mind. We got a lot, like, everyone's got a lot. The world has gotten complex. But I think it's very dangerous to not invest in the technology with your children like you invest in sitting with them and doing math and homework and stuff like
Mm,
that.
mm. Rob, I'm wondering what tips you would give to the young people, who are out there, who all want to get into the tech industry. What advice, if you compare yourself to the time you were at uni and where you are today, what would you tell your younger self?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I went public. I was 33 years old when I took the company public, LivePerson. So I was young. I started the company at 27. So I did a lot of things. I was thinking back on that recently about all the things I did being young, and now I'm 57 with young kids, and I still have the same energy, but definitely I have a different perspective on stuff. Look, and I don't want to sound old. That's the problem. So I don't want to say anything that makes me sound old because, like, it's like I remember my grandparents. Like, I remember when bread was 50 cents, and you don't appreciate anything. Like every generation thinks the next generation is just a bunch of lazies. But the way my success in life, I've never claimed to be the smartest person or the way, like, people have this vector of what they are in the world, or the most aggressive, or everyone has to be the most something.
Mm,
I think the world that I've lived through and that I've been successful in is to be in a place of service. And if you think about why you're here, it's to serve
mm,
others. And
mm,
I to build a company for 28 years, and we had some customers with us for over 20 years at that company. I remember
mm,
managing customers who built their careers off of the technology we created, but we had these friendships. And it was through our business that we had them. But I always looked at like we have to serve our customers, we have to serve the company. And the company, company comes from the Latin word, the root word corpus, which is body. And if you're a young person, I see this sometimes is that there's really a sense of me. And I saw this. One of the things I just got very disappointed on with COVID was somehow really COVID was the last nail in the coffin to me. I started to see employees' perspective of you got to take care of me. It's like the company's got to take care of me. I'm not, there's a lot of injustice in the world, therefore take care of me. And this has destroyed like what companies were all about, which is that I'm here to serve, I'm here to create connections. So if you're a young person showing up, whether you're building a company or showing up in a company to work there, you have to be there to serve.
Mm.
And if you come with what can I get out of it? How can I get rich? How can I get something from someone? It creates this very distorted, I think, perspective on what the nature of business is. So I would just say be a servant leader. As I say, servant leaders, I think, are the best leaders in the world.
Yeah, definitely. So, what do you feel are your main learnings being in the tech world since the 90s? That's a long time.
Uh, there's a lot. It's like, you know, uh, there's a lot. I mean, I went through the dot com, so I actually we survived the dot com. That was our bubble that we survived,
Yeah.
and we did. I had to fire like 90% of the company in one day to get us to survive, and then we
Mm.
there went through the financial crisis, COVID. So I have a couple of like key lessons that I live by, which is the macro of everything. So those big things that happen, like I lived through them, and you're going to live through them if you're building a business. They're uncontrollable, and what makes them macro is that everyone in the world is experiencing them at the same time. What I learned though is that the best thing you do is slow down time.
Mm.
So I remember specifically when COVID hit and we all went home, and I remember being on a Zoom with my team. There was all these opinions that, oh my God, the company's not going to survive, because it was really back then, like we all had to be together. We were powering contact centers. And so there's people in those contact centers. What's going to happen to our technology? Anyway, I was like, we don't need to do anything right now. Like so what you need to do is instead of being ahead of it, you want to be like, if this is the wave of the change, you want to be here. And you want the wave to go out. Like if a wave is passing you and you're on a beach or
Mm.
you're out surfing, and it's about, you want it to work through you, past you, and then you're going to get a perspective on it to understand how you're affected by it or not. When you get inside of it, and that's what people tend to do, they react, and
Yeah.
now they're inside the wave, you're going to get in the washing
Tumbled.
machine, you're going
Yeah.
to get tumbled. So I'd say if you hit a macro event, slow it down. And in our case, I was like, let's just see how it plays out. It played out really well for us because people wanted AI and automation, and we had it. And we grew like a weed during COVID. But at those first couple of days and weeks, nobody knew what was going on. So I'd just say, gotta like on that level, slow it down. The next one is really about, I call it like skill and will is the essence of the people you work with. Do they have skill and do they have will? I learned this during the dot com when we had to terminate a bunch of people in the company. We made a list of everyone's name, and we had to check. There's three of us, and each of us took our own sheets and we checked, and we compared our sheets, and everyone who stayed had to have skill and will. You can't get away without it. You may have someone who's brilliant, but they don't have the will. Or you may
Mm.
have someone who has the will and they don't have the skill. But you need to have these two things to operate the business. And then I would say the third thing, which is important, is like as a company, you have to be really clear about why you exist and core values, which I learned I didn't have them in LivePerson for the first 10 years. We never had them. And then as we grew, I realized we need them. But all my companies now, we start by doing a workshop, a couple of days of figuring out why are we here? What's our values? So I would say, like, be clear about what the values are of your company. I would only pick one. Most startups can't afford one. Even when we were a live person doing a half a billion in revenue, I was like, we can only afford two. And you can't do it one, but I'd say pick the one thing you think the reason is why we're all coming to work and we're building a company. Get clear on that and make sure everyone's aligned, because that gives you a North Star to the will. Why are people coming to work with you? And we're in a people business. If you have great people, it's easy to run a business. But usually you don't. You have like a mixture of people that are good, great. You have people that are good that could be great. You have people that are great that all of a sudden become bad because eventually the company outgrows them and they don't want to grow. I've seen all that. But the idea is you got to stick to the North Star. You
Yeah.
don't change with all the things. Stick to your North Star.
Yeah. I think, Rob, these are amazing, amazing tips. Skill and will, slow it down and have the values, at least one. And I love that you say that because I remember many companies that I worked with, they always had like a massive sheet of all of their values. And it's absolutely useless because no one identifies with a massive list of values.
The
So,
brain, we don't have the capacity. That's why I worked with, when I was at LivePerson, I worked with 400 of the largest enterprises in the world. And I was always looking around for what are the core values. And
mm,
the great ones, it was like they were there. They were definable, they were on the wall, but they weren't on the wall as letters on a wall and words on a wall. They were living and breathing in the people
yeah.
that work company. I knew the best companies in the world, everyone was very aligned. Like Home Depot, like we had Home Depot 20 years ago when it was like at its heyday. And it was just amazing to be in there to see the culture of that
Mm,
company. It's
mm,
through a lot of times it's through the founders. Like great founders will, put something up there and have the company live by it. So
yeah. Yeah. Rob, so what does success look like for you now?
that's a good question. you know, um, yeah, I'm in an interesting position in life. And you know, it's a good question. I'm being thoughtful about it. Um, Obviously, I'm trying to build something in the world or put something in the world that can, I think, once again, create a better way to us to engage in this technology. But in the end, like, let's go through it all. I mean, I have young kids, and when you have young children, you think about their lives and how I can personally affect their lives. Plus, what am I building something that and the way I'm building it can be have an impression on them. Someone told me about parenting. Like parenting is about your children observing you and what you
Mm,
do.
mm,
And I feel like even since I left Live Person, and I didn't leave. By the way, Live Person in the end, it wasn't a big parade for me. I left. I got tossed out of my company, and I left it like that because it got taken over by an activist, and ultimately has been halved as a company since I've left. It lost over half its revenues. So I've had to watch that. Yeah, and so it was that story. They have the Whole Foods. I saw the interview with the Whole Foods CEO. Same thing. Like activists came in and it disrupted the company. I ended up leaving it wasn't a parade and a party, and it was nothing like I expected after 28 years of building something
mm,
from nothing.
mm.
But with that, my children, the first thing when I left, I'm like, my kids will observe how I go through my change in life. And I didn't think they would ever see that kind of change. They never saw the startup. My wife never experienced it either, like of me starting companies or taking them public or restructuring them during the dot com. So they've seen now this change, like extreme change, and now they're living through how am I evolving with that? Am
Yeah.
I down? Am I up? Am I building? Am I creating? So what's important to me is really how they view the work I do, because it's a unit of one. Yes, you want to change the world and you want to do all those things. If you're, I have that. I've always been like that. Even when I was a kid, I wanted to do big things. But in the end, like the unit of one, which is my family and my children, like they're the greatest observers to my life. Everyone else is a stranger. Everyone else, when I pass away, is gonna, who knows? But my children will be living with whatever I've done for the rest of their lives, and they'll either say, "Oh, my dad achieved something. he went through that change. So it's interesting for them because they're experiencing something that they get a front row to change, you
Yeah,
know.
definitely. Rob, so I know you're involved in many other activities and non-for-profit activities, and one other thing you're doing is your podcast and YouTube channel Over the Wall, where you interview people that you consider leaders to talk about entrepreneurship. And so, what are the main messages that you want people to hear with that?
Yeah, that's I entitled it Over the Wall, and the reason I did that was um, if you're going to go out in the world and build something and follow whatever dream you have, I don't know what the rules are, but there's a rule of the wall, and that is,
Yeah,
there are walls set up everywhere along the time to see if you're committed or you're not.
yeah,
And a lot of people want to go out and build companies or follow dreams, but they don't really have it in their heart. They're not they're not really committed to it. And when they hit the first wall, they leave, a lot of people leave. So a very small group of people make it to the top. And that's why the people who make it to the top we admire because we're like, we know the struggle.
yeah.
And so I would say is that I always say don't ever quit at the bottom.
Mm,
Quit at the top. Don't ever quit when you're facing a wall. Quit when you get through the other side. So all these times over, just because I have this 28-year experience, there were days, so many days where woke up and was like, I don't know why I'm here. I don't think I can do it. I don't think. Yeah, I had it's like tremendous doubt,
yeah,
and it's almost soul crushing sometimes the doubt because there's also a lot of external forces, telling you you don't have it, you're not the person, or the company's not going to make it, or whatever it is. And I was always like, okay, all that being whatever, I just got to see it through the other side. And then I would always tell myself, if I can't, if through the other side I don't like it, as in I
mm,
made it through, and I look back and I'm at where I am, where I am, and I'm like, I'm just not the guy.
yeah,
This isn't for me.
mm,
Then okay, I've got answers to questions. But when you're in the middle of the change, it just may be a test to see if you have a love for what you're doing.
yeah. Rob, with everything that you say, you come across as someone who really leads with heart and soul. How do you feel that sort of your leadership has changed over the last many years? And what are you aspiring to now in terms of leadership?
Um, I will say I'm going through. There's a lot of. I've got new teams of
Yeah,
people, and I didn't take anyone. I took one person from my old company into the one of my companies, but no one else. I wanted a
clean slate.
clean slate. You know what I'm saying? And part of that is just because people had reference of my work in the past, and you want to like not. And I did a lot of good work. It wasn't about that good or bad work. It was more like I just wanted to have a new way to think about building a business because also AI affords me the ability to think about the business differently operationally and how we're going to build it. So I don't want to take any of the old thinking forward. I want new thinking. I want a young group of people who come with a whole different set of ideas. So I guess I'm in the middle of trying to understand that and what a new type of leader looks like. I don't have the answers. I do know a couple of things. I've experienced a couple of things. One is I definitely don't need 3,000 people to do what even I did at LivePerson. Like I could do it with
Yeah,
30.
yeah,
And I wrote this down from day one since I arrived here, which is that I want to find the 20 best people in the world to deliver on these ideas. I don't need any more than 20. Like with the tools and technologies, you can scale people's work at a tremendous level. So I think for me, it's just finding that core group of people. Where in the past it was all about like more of a scale, the
mm,
scale of humans, the scale of a company's workforce. It's and today I look at it like it's a very different world when we can the capacity we can get out of each person is just very different than the capacity I can out of myself. So I've had to kind of rethink. So I'm in the middle of it right now. I don't have like a and a lot of things I learned in the past through the experience I had are not applicable today. To
yeah,
be honest, they're just not applicable to the world. I feel sorry for, to be honest, like, not that I feel sorry for them, but I do. I feel sorry for people who run public companies right now in tech.
yeah,
Like, and I have a lot of friends there who stick within their they're on their 10th year, their 15th year, their 20th year, and whatever. And they're long. These are long tenured CEOs who have a committed to the business.
Yeah.
But I'm like, they're so in trouble because there's no way you can take a workforce of that size, being in a public company shell, and do what you can do with 20 people. And that's why they all, like in the last year, you see these emails come out, these memos from everyone. We're going to be an AI native company. Everyone's got to learn AI. We all have to start getting our act together. Like, I don't have these speeches with the people I work with. Like, they come in native, they use the tools, they have a mindset that's like about scaling a business, very different. And so I just think there's a disadvantage right now to be a old company in a shell, and they're all going to be old. Like, I don't know if you saw the stock market today. Like, it took a little bit of a hit, and
Yeah.
of course the news is making up stuff. So what do they make up today? It's like that service now, for instance. I saw that is AI affecting their business now? Is the startup starting to take their business? And
Mm.
that narrative is going to start playing out,
Yeah.
and that narrative is not going to stop. And there's going to be a Pac-Man type thing happening with these businesses because they're inefficient. The people who work there are not native. They've got old systems that they can't change. So I almost feel like it's a gift I got out. I got out when I did, so I can like I'm free to like just do what I need to do.
I think it's a total gift, Rob, and you're up to, such exciting new things. And I think you're completely right. Private is the way forward. And the structure will be much more horizontal because the one CEO can't be doing all of the things, right? He needs to plan for the future. That's a massive thing now. Changes so fast. I think it needs a future forward-looking team just to be able to wrap their head around that, etc. I mean, this could be another conversation that could last for hours. But Rob, what are
By the
your,
way, I just not to interrupt, but I met a CEO of a company. He's got like $100 million business, and they're in the they do like they have a platform that allows people to talk to experts and stuff like this. It's like, but it, but I caught him in. I was in Dubai at a conference 2 weeks ago, and he was there too, and we were in the lobby together. And I've known him for many years. He was actually a customer of LivePerson, so we were talking, and he's he's coding. This guy, he just turned 50, by the way, and he's coding. And I would like to say his name, but I don't want to give him I'd have to ask him permission. But he's coding he was coding his new company. So I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, he has like 200 people in his company today, and he's like, I'm creating the whole platform for taking this company and moving it onto a new platform. I'm coding it with two other guys. I go, but you're not a coder. He's like, oh yeah, but I'm doing the coding. And I was like, he's like an extreme of where I would love to be. Like, I can do better things. I don't need to go that far,
yeah.
but you got to go close to that where he's inventing his business, reinventing his business with his own
Mm,
hands,
mm,
coding the platforms that will get him to be a 20-person company doing
yeah,
100 something million in revenues
yeah,
versus and so that's the mentality.
yeah.
He has a mentality that we all have to have, which is that I got to get my hands in it, I got to use it, I got to get those tools, I
Mm.
can't be afar from it. So
Yeah, and Rob, and that has so many repercussions, right? We're going to have to think about property completely differently. We're not going to need these huge offices anymore, etc. PP. There's so much, and with forward-thinking people and people who are creative and even innovative, there'll be incredible business coming out of all of that.
huge business coming out of it. I mean, the huge business. So I just think for all of us, we have to get in. You got to be in it. That's why I got out to get in. I mean,
Yeah,
because you're
yeah,
in, and once you're in, you got to like get your hands in, or especially with your teams, they want to see these things.
definitely. Rob, so talk to us about your plans and goals for this year and beyond.
We're launching. It was all about 2026 is really about launching these companies and taking them from ideas to reality. And we're launching the Uare.AI platform in a couple of weeks. And we launched Kid, and we got our first 400 families up on Kid, and we're getting a lot of feedback. So there's a lot of changes we're going to make on that platform and the technology for the children. So really, for me, 26 is like about the ramping up the business from zero to our plans. I think, my goal is to do like 20 million in revenues in 12 months. Like the watermark, the high watermark is about 100 million in 18 months. It's like lovable and stuff. There is a watermark. And so, like we have venture capital in the Uare.AI business, and they're really great. One of them is my original investor from LivePerson, Ed Sim from Bold Start, and I've got Naveen from Mayfield. And they're great. I call founder friendly investors. But they've got they're like they got these companies that grow like a weed, and there's nothing in our way. That's what's exciting. Like when
Yeah.
I launched LivePerson, it was still like the internet was coming about, and still, but like the marketing of platforms, people understanding who we are, the ability to scale these platforms quickly. So our goal in 26 is just to really gain that momentum, going out and planting our flags finally. I just want to plant the flag in the world and tell people you can own your own AI. You don't have to be like giving your stuff up to ChatGPT. Like you don't have to worry about your kids getting like abused by this stuff or getting, assaulted. Like I just want to plant the flag and let people know there's an alternative, and I'm one of the people in the world that wants to lead that alternative. And that's the goal for 26.
Rob, and what takeaways would you like our listeners to have from your story?
I have, it's a, I wasn't an entrepreneur who created like 20 companies. I did the one, and now I'm building these ones. And I guess I would just say, I took this Cal Ripken was this baseball player for the Baltimore Orioles when I went to school in Baltimore. And if you look him up, he's called the Iron Man of baseball because he played the most consecutive games of anybody in the league. And think of that. He was also a very good player, but he wasn't the best player. But he played the most consecutive games. It was 300 and something games or whatever it was. It was a crazy number. Even if he was sick, he played. And so my advice out there is just play the most consecutive games you can. Like play the most consecutive games because in the end, if you play the most consecutive games, you're going to beat your competitor. Like if you wake up early in the morning and go to bed late and you're playing in the game, you're going to beat them. Because what I found over life is somewhere people burn out. Like I had competitors, sometimes they were ahead of us, they're going to burn out. But
Mm,
you're going to consistently hit base hit after base hit, double after double. You're going to get a couple of home runs every couple of years, but you're going to hit so many base hits that it equals home runs. It may
yeah,
take a little longer. You have to be really patient, but in the end, you're going to leave something like a legacy. You leave a foundation in the world that people admire. And if you want to do it, I get it. Everything's about like I set up something, and a week later I'm a millionaire. I see that. It's like that. It's a marketing message, by the way. It's a marketing message.
yeah,
There's some reality to that, but the majority of people, that's not the way it works. Just hit a base hit, hit a base hit at work, hit a base hit, but just keep hitting base hits.
yeah. Rob, so how can we support you, as in we, the humans, the consumers, the parents?
Buy our stuff. So come to URAI, U letter R.AI in a couple weeks. You can sign up now. There's over 1,000 people that are waiting to get on the platform, so it's exciting. And then Kidco.AI is the children's device, and check it out. All I'll say is that you know it. I've said this for both companies. It'll take a community to make all this work. Like we'll never make kids successful with us just selling to families. We're not a toy company, that's just trying to dump toys into the market. It's going to take a community of parents. On the other side, it's going to take a community of individuals and professionals working together on making these platforms great. And if we work together, we'll all be successful. Like all these platforms are about ways in which also the people in them can actually benefit from them. So I'm just saying, like, it's going to take a community in this case to build these companies. So any ideas you have, you can get me at, Rob at Kidco.AI, Rob at Uare.AI, and or check me on my LinkedIn. But, I always engage with people's ideas. And if you have great ideas and you want to share them, I'm here for you. Or more importantly, is I also support a lot of entrepreneurs. So if you're out there and you're feeling whatever, just send me a message on LinkedIn and I'll get back to you. Like I know how hard it is, and no one's above helping others. No one is above help. I found that like people who are like, wow, they're so successful, I can't talk to them. I would reach out to them, and I found the more successful they were, the more they would get back to me and say, can I help you?
Yeah.
When they're not successful, they ignore the world. But most people are like there for you. So I'm there for whoever needs help because it's hard. Building companies is even now where I am in life, it's just some days sucks.
Yeah.
And some days it's awesome. And then there's days where it really sucks. And then it's really awesome. And I know the roller coaster ride's hard, but we're all in it together. And if you need some help, just ping me and I'll at least be a shoulder to be there.
Rob, thank you so much for your story, all your important insights for leading powerfully by example. We are gonna watch you, and it's a super exciting time for you. And to the listeners, where can you improve on your skill and will? What are your core values, and where could you slow down just a little bit to get a better perspective?
Great. That's good. Good summary.